Hello everyone, I am Dr. Suman Pawar, working as an assistant professor in Department of Zoology at Dada Patil Mahavidyalaya Kazat from district Ahmednagar. Friends, this video is for educational purpose only, no copyright infringement. This copyright belongs to its rightful owner. Credit goes to the respective image and content providers. Today, we are dealing with the central nervous system in Calotes versicolor. The nervous system in Calotes versicolor is well developed and it consists of three main elements. The first one, central nervous system, the second, peripheral nervous system, and the third, the autonomic or the sympathetic nervous system. First of all, let us see the central nervous system. The central nervous system is mainly formed by the well-developed brain and the spinal cord, which are the central elements. The brain in Calotes as well as in other vertebrates is enclosed within the cranium or the skull, and that's why all these vertebrates, they are differently named as craniids. The brain is formed by the nervous tissue, consists of nerve cells or the neurons, the fibrous elements and the non-nervous neuroglia. While the cellular elements forms the grey matter, while the fibrous elements form the white matter, which are the two main components of the brain. In the brain, the grey matter is dorsal and peripheral in position, while the white matter is restricted mainly in the ventral area of the brain. And all these structures, all these brain elements, they are ectodermal in origin. Here is the brain of a typical vertebrate, and it shows the location of the grey matter at the peripheral region and some of the ventral regions, whereas the white matter, it is located at the central position. But the exact reverse case in case of the spinal cord, as the grey matter is located at the dorsal and the ventral horns, whereas the white matter, it is aggregated at the peripheral region in case of the spinal cord. The brain is covered and protected by the connective tissue sheaths called meninges, and two meninges are there, of which one is the pia mater and the second is the dura mater. Here is the diagrammatic representation of the skull, brain and these connective tissue sheaths. Suppose this is the outermost skull or cranium, and immediately after the skull there is a location of the dura mater, and here is the space in between the outer dura mater and the inner pia mater, and this space is the arachnoid space or the subdural space, which is filled with the arachnoid matter or the cerebrospinal fluid. Here is the location of the brain, which is closely associated with the pia mater. The highly vascular inner pia mater remains in close contact with the brain, while the outer is the dura mater, which lies just outside the pia mater and is mainly made up of the fibrous elements. The two coverings, which are nothing but the connective tissue sheaths, they remain separate from each other, and the space in between these two meninges is called as subdural space, which is filled with the cerebrospinal fluid, which nourishes and protects the brain. The brain of Calotes is differentiated into forebrain, midbrain, and the hindbrain. Let us see the forebrain. The forebrain mainly comprises olfactory lobes, cerebral hemispheres, and diencephalon. The olfactory lobes, they form the anterior-most part of the brain in Calotes. Each lobe consists of an anterior, slightly swollen olfactory bulb and a posterior, long, narrow olfactory peduncle or tract through which the olfactory lobe they are connected with the cerebral hemisphere. And the cavity of each olfactory lobe is called olfactory ventricle or rhinocele. These are the olfactory bulbs, and through these elongated olfactory peduncle, both the olfactory bulbs they are connected with their respective cerebral hemispheres. Means these are the anterior most elements of the brain, forebrain. These two are the cerebral hemispheres, and as this is the dorsal view of brain of Calotes, and it is quite difficult to locate the diencephalon from the dorsal side as it gets completely covered by the cerebral hemispheres from the upper side and by the optic lobes from the lower side. These large are the optic lobes, and below optic lobe here is the cerebellum, and next to cerebellum this somewhat triangular portion is of medulla oblongata, which posteriorly continues as spinal cord. The function of olfactory lobes, as these are the organs of smelling, thus controls the sense of smell. The second element which lies in the forebrain are the cerebral hemispheres. The cerebral hemispheres is a pair of large, oval, smooth bodies lies in close contact with each other in the median line through a dorsal groove which is called median longitudinal fissure, which forms the demarcation, that is, it separates the two cerebral hemispheres. The cerebral hemispheres are hollow inside, and the cavity present in each cerebral hemisphere is called lateral ventricle, or both the cavities they are differently named as first and second ventricle or paracels. These cavities are filled with cerebrospinal fluid. Roof of the cerebral hemisphere is very thin, called the pallium. The lateral and the ventral walls of the cerebral hemisphere are thick, and these layers together calls the corpus striatum. The hippocampus is the swollen part of the mid-posterior region of the cerebral hemispheres. The cerebral hemispheres are connected by two commissures. The anterior commissure is the wide transverse tract of the nerve fibers and connecting to corpora striata and receives many efferent fibers from side walls of the diencephalon. This indicates the transfer of more functions to the cerebrum. The function of cerebral hemisphere, as it is the set of intelligence, memory, will, and also controls voluntary actions in higher animals like mammals. The third element of forebrain is the diencephalon, which is a small, laterally compressed, narrow area which is situated in between the cerebral hemispheres from anterior side, while from the optic lobes posteriorly. Dorsally, almost invisible due to overlapping by the cerebral lobes and the optic lobes. The diencephalon encloses a cavity called the third ventricle or diocele, which communicates with the lateral ventricles, that is, the ventricles of the cerebral hemispheres, through a small common aperture, that is, foramen of Monro. Here is the ventral view of brain of Calotes. It shows some elements of the diencephalon. See here. Here is the location of the infundibulum. And this infundibulum, along with hypophysis, it forms the pituitary body, which is the major portion of the diencephalon. The roof of the diencephalon, that is anterior portion of the diencephalon, is very thin, greatly folded to form a deeply vascular structure which is called anterior choroid plexus, which is responsible for secretion of the cerebrospinal fluid and thus nourishes the anterior region of the brain. Behind the plexus, behind this anterior choroid plexus, there is epiphysis with anterior pineal eye and posterior pineal body. The pineal eye is the functionless vestigial which represents the third eye in Calotes, while the pineal body is an elongated sac-like gland and it is endocrinal in nature. The side walls of the third ventricle are thick and are called optic thalami. Functionally, the optic thalami serves as the relay centers for the transmission fibers between the corpora striata in front and the hindbrain and the spinal cord behind. Thus, all these elements, they are interconnected with each other. The floor of the third ventricle is thick and it is shallow, called hypothalamus. The hypothalamus exerts a partial control over the smooth muscles and glands of the body through the autonomous nervous system. Ventrally, the hypothalamus is produced into a funnel-shaped infundibulum, while the distal end, that is the lower end of infundibulum, shows a structure called hypophysis. Thus, the infundibulum and the hypophysis togetherly forms the pituitary body. The pituitary body controls all the endocrine glands and secretes number of hormones. In front of the pituitary body, there is crossing of the optic nerves arising from their respective optic lobes. Thus, they forms the optic chiasma in the form of their crossing. The function of diencephalon. The diencephalon contains centers for spontaneous movements. Means, whatever the spontaneous movements of the body of Calotes are, all remains under the control of diencephalon. The second region, that is midbrain, it is also called as mesencephalon and it consists of the optic lobes and the crura cerebri. The optic lobes are pair of large rounded bodies which are the dorsolateral outgrowths originates on the floor of the midbrain. Ventrally, the optic lobes gives rise to two optic nerves which crosses each other to form the optic chiasma which lies exactly in front of the infundibulum. Each optic lobe encloses a cavity called optocele, that is, the ventricle of optic lobe is called optocele, and both the optocele opens into a narrow median longitudinal canal called aqueduct of Sylvius. which connects the third and the fourth ventricle. The function of midbrain. The optic lobes are concerned with the sense of vision. The crura cerebri are the thick longitudinal bands of nerve fibers which are located below the optic lobes, and they connect the diencephalon with the medulla oblongata. The function of crura cerebri. Through crura cerebri, to and fro movements of the impulses occur between the cerebrum and the spinal cord. The hindbrain. The hindbrain or metencephalon consists of cerebellum and medulla oblongata. The cerebellum is a solid, undivided flap of grey matter that covers the optic lobes. The cerebellum is poorly developed and consists of a narrow, flat, transverse band on the dorsal side, and it is without lateral lobes. The function of cerebellum is to control and coordinate the muscular movements, and thus it controls equilibrium of the body. Medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata is the posterior most part of the brain called myelencephalon, which continues posteriorly in the form of spinal cord. It is broad in front and narrow behind, and has a prominent ventral fissure which passes into the spinal cord. The roof of medulla oblongata is very thin, membranous, and deeply vascular, which is called the posterior choroid plexus, which secretes the cerebrospinal fluid, thus supplies nourishment to the posterior parts of the brain. The medulla oblongata encloses a cavity called fourth ventricle or metacele. The sides and the floor of medulla oblongata are very thick and serves as reflex centers for the auditory and the visceral nerves. The medulla oblongata gives off 5th to 12th cranial nerves. The function of medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata is responsible for regulating several basic functions of the autonomous nervous system, which includes respiration, cardiac function, vasodilation, and different reflexes like vomiting, sneezing, swallowing, etc. The second main element of the brain, that is of the central nervous system, that is spinal cord, which is a long, whitish, thick-walled, somewhat dorsoventrally flattened tube, which is situated in the neural canal of the vertebral column, and it runs throughout the trunk and tail region. Posteriorly, it becomes slender in the tail region and then tapers to a blunt end. In the region of forelimb and the hind limbs, the spinal cord is slightly thicker, thus it forms the brachial and lumbar enlargements in the region of forelimbs and hind limbs respectively. The cerebrospinal fluid is filled in the epidural and subdural spaces for the protection of the spinal cord. This is the TS of spinal cord, which shows, see the first one, the position of the white matter and the grey matter at the inner side, whereas the white matter surrounds the grey matter. Exactly at the center of the grey matter, there is a location of the central canal. The TS shows the posterior as well as the anterior median fissure, the dorsal horn and the ventral horns. The dorsal horn, it shows the sensory dorsal root, whereas from the ventral horn there arises the motor or the ventral root. The central canal of the spinal cord is filled with the cerebrospinal fluid like the brain ventricles, because the ventricles of the brain posteriorly continues at the central canal. The spinal cord is also formed by two types of nervous tissue, that is the inner grey matter and the outer white matter. The H-shaped grey matter is with prominent dorsal and ventral horns, from which arise the dorsal and the ventral roots of the spinal nerves. It consists mainly of nerve cells and non-modulated nerve fibers. The white matter consists mainly of modulated nerve fibers. Laterally, the spinal cord gives off paired spinal nerves, which are of mixed type. The function of spinal cord. The spinal cord is the highway for communication between the body and the brain, and it coordinates the body reflexes. Friends, in case you have any doubt about the content of this video or you have any question about the topic covered, please email me on the given address. Thank you. Thank you for your patient listening. Let me once announce this video is for educational purpose only. No copyright infringement. This copyright belongs to its rightful owner and credit goes to the respective image and content providers. For more videos, kindly visit our YouTube channel Rayat Knowledge Bank.